Amazon Rainforest Journal. My name is Lee. My mother is an entomologist. That's a type of biologist who studies insects. She has traveled to the Amazon rainforest in Brazil many times for several different assignments. Her stories about the place have always fascinated me. I begged Mom for a really long time to take me along on one of her trips to the rainforest. At last, she surprised me with a special birthday trip. I am writing this diary about my journey to share the excitement with everyone at school. Monday, September 21st. It's early morning, and I am sitting in the Manaus airport in Brazil. I can't believe that I'm so far from New York, 7,680 kilometers, 4,800 miles. We are waiting for the cab to take us to our hotel. We'll leave our things there before meeting our guide, Kopanawa. My mother has known Kopanawa for a long time, and he has guided her safely through the forest many times. Kopanawa is a member of the Yanomamo Amazonian tribe. Yanomamo means human being. Mom says Kopanawa chose to be a guide because he likes showing people the wonders of his world. He hopes his guided tours will help preserve the rainforest and the ways of life of other Amazonian tribes. It's early afternoon now, and we are heading down the Amazon River in Kopanawa's wooden boat. We didn't have to wait too long for him to pull up to the dock. The air is hot and humid here. While we waited, I could feel the sweat soaking my clothes. Manaus is a port city. I noticed that people seemed to throw a lot of garbage in the water, and there were a lot of flies in the air. People rushed back and forth, sometimes stopping to exchange goods and talk with each other. It was great to meet Kopanawa. He was smiling, and I could tell he was happy to finally meet me too. I liked him immediately. He looks very confident, and he has kind eyes. Mom says he knows more about the rainforest environment than almost anyone. We boarded Kopanawa's boat with great anticipation and excitement. Once the boat moved away from Manaus and headed down the Amazon River, the scenery changed dramatically. Everything is so enormous. There are big trees and interesting plants with gigantic leaves everywhere. I feel as if I've stepped back in time to a prehistoric forest. We've traveled a short distance, and now Kopanawa is pulling the boat over to the shore. I can't wait to see what's in the forest. We are back in Kopanawa's boat. We just took a quick hike into the rainforest. From the riverbank, the trees looked so tall and clustered together. I didn't think we could find a place to walk through the forest, but we did. It was much easier to walk around when we moved away from the river. Mom said this is because the trees create a canopy or cover. Only a little light can penetrate the canopy, so fewer plants actually grow on the forest floor. At first, I couldn't stop talking as we walked through the forest. Things looked so different. Soon Kopanawa told me to listen more and talk less. He said it was very important to keep my eyes open in the rainforest. Then he said it was even more important to listen for sounds of life because the animals often hide. I can't believe this was only my first day in the rainforest. It was amazing. I saw a lizard like this one. I nearly stepped on it because it blended in so well with the plants. Kopanawa said the lizard's camouflaged coloration makes it very difficult for predators to see. Other camouflaged lizards that eat meat can easily hide from their prey before they strike because they are concealed in the environment. I know the lizard's camouflage really fooled me. Tuesday, September 22nd. Today I saw hundreds of very large ants marching through the rainforest on a trail they made. Mom told me to take a closer look. When I got nearer, I could see that some of the ants held pieces of green leaves over their heads. They looked like they were carrying tiny umbrellas. They really looked funny. I asked Kopanawa if they were protecting themselves from the rain. He laughed and told me that they were leaf-cutter ants. They take the leaves back to their nests. Their nests are made of hundreds of chambers that branch out under the earth. The leaf-cutter ants don't eat the leaves they bring to their nests. In fact, some of the leaves are poisonous. Instead, the leaf-cutter ants use the leaves to grow a type of fungus. They chew the leaves into a pulp, making a bed of fertilizer on which the fungus grows. The fungus is the ants' only source of food. I wondered why the ants didn't get lost in the forest. The ground is covered with roots, rocks, and plants. I thought they must have trouble finding their way back home. Kopanawa explained that the ants follow a chemical trail. They secrete drops of a liquid called a pheromone for other ants to follow. Insects use different types of pheromones to communicate with each other. Each pheromone has a different odor. Some pheromones help the ants follow trails while others signal for help or point out a food source. That's a unique way of getting your message across. The adult ants work hard to make sure the young ants get a constant source of food. It's no surprise that the adult ants are called workers. The newly hatched ants are called larvae or larval ants. The larvae hatch in groups called broods. When they grow up, the ants in each brood develop into workers. We kept walking for another half an hour. Suddenly, Kopanawa stopped and pointed to a spot near the trail. More ants! But this time, a battle was going on. A colony of red army ants was attacking some other insects. Army ants do not eat plants or fungi. They prey on other insects such as wasps. Both wasps and ants are called social insects because they live together in groups. Army ants prey on adult wasps and attack their nests too. We watched as the ants swarmed over the wasp's nest. There were so many army ants that the wasps could not defend themselves. The wasps could only fly away and leave their larvae and eggs to the overwhelming number of army ants. The ants took the wasp eggs and carried them back to their own nest. The eggs would be a source of food for the rest of the ant colony. A short distance away, we saw a group of army ants hooking their legs together under a fallen log. I asked Kopanawa if they were dancing. This time, he almost fell over laughing. Then he said the ants were making a temporary nest. This is the only kind of nest they ever make. After they hook themselves together in a chain, workers start making chambers for the queen and her brood. It was so odd. I felt like I was watching a science fiction movie. My mother told me that the army ants have to keep moving. They use up all the available food in a certain area and must find new territories to raid. When the queen lays eggs, she stays in one place until the new brood is old enough to join the hunting parties. Wednesday, September 23rd. Today we got up very early. The mist was still hanging over the rainforest. It felt like we were camping in the clouds. We left on a hike right after breakfast. We were walking along when suddenly Kopanawa put out his hand and stopped me in my tracks. A coral snake was slithering through the thin covering of leaves on the ground. The snake had bright bands of yellow, red, and green. I once read that some rainforest animals display brilliant coloring. The colors show that the animals are venomous and keep predators away. Even before Kopanawa warned us, I already jumped 2 steps back to keep my distance. I took a photograph of the coral snake using a telephoto lens. Then the snake disappeared into the forest. Thursday, September 24th. Today we journeyed a little farther down the river in Kopanawa's boat. When the boat landed, we traveled into the rainforest again. Everywhere I looked, there were so many different kinds of plants. We didn't see many animals, but the constant cheeping, chirping, grunting, and growling noises reminded me that they were all around us. As we walked, Kopanawa told me that many of the trees produce poisonous chemicals. "Do you mean this forest is a toxic dump?" I asked. No, he said. "The chemicals protect the plants from insects. It's amazing. Some insects have developed immunities to the individual chemicals produced by certain trees. Such immunities allow only one type of insect to feed on a specific tree." Soon we came to a tree that seemed to stand out in the forest. This time, my mom stopped the group so we could take a closer look. Unlike the other trees along the way, this one didn't have vines and other plants growing all over it. I wondered what was different about this tree. My mom told me that the tree was called a swollen thorn acacia. The leaves of this acacia tree are not toxic, but only one type of insect feeds on them. The acacia leaves secrete a kind of sugar, and they have little orange bulbs on their ends. The bulbs are rich in vitamins and proteins. I wondered why only one type of insect fed on the leaves, and why wasn't the tree covered with vines like many of the other trees? Then Mom told me the acacia's secret. The tree has a certain kind of ant to protect it. The ants eat the acacia leaves and bulbs. When a vine touches the acacia, the ants chew through the vine and cut it from the tree. The ants also attack any other insects that try to feed on the tree. The tree and the ants depend on each other for survival. The tree nourishes the ants, and the ants protect the tree from the other plants and animals. Here's a picture of a colony of ants. Friday, September 25th. Today we took a trip to the top layer of the rainforest. It was one of the most wonderful experiences of my life. I was amazed to see an elevator in the rainforest. My mom called it a lift, but it looked like a rickety old elevator with open sides. The lift carried us up 30 meters, 100 feet. I was nervous, but it was exciting to see the forest floor slip away as we climbed into the air. When the lift stopped, we stepped outside onto a maze of walkways that stretched through the treetops. Each tree trunk was surrounded by a strong wooden platform. The platforms were very wide, so several people could stand on them. As I looked around, I felt like I was on top of the world. We were in the rainforest canopy. Life high at the top of the rainforest is breathtaking. It would be impossible to describe all of the animals I saw, but I mostly noticed there were many kinds of birds. I recognized the colorful tangers and the toucans. Many of the trees were covered with small berries. The branches were full of bush-tailed saki monkeys, dwarf squirrels, and tree frogs. I was amazed that the top of the forest was so full of life. It reminded me of a busy city with all its inhabitants scurrying about. It was so interesting and beautiful that I wanted to stay there forever. Saturday, September 26th. This was my last day in the rainforest. I spent so much time hiking around that I am too tired to write very much. Even though the weather was hot and humid and it rained every day of the trip, I didn't mind. There were so many new things to see and hear. I'll miss Kopanawa. It was hard to say goodbye to him today. I know I'll never forget him. And I'll never forget all the animals, the toucans, howler monkeys, cat-eyed snakes, and the rest. I'll think about them for a long time. It is amazing how life has adapted to conditions in the rainforest. Plants and animals such as the acacia tree and the ants work together for survival. It's like interlocking pieces of a puzzle, creating one beautiful picture. I'll keep the picture in my mind as I take the cab ride back to the Manaus airport and board the plane for New York. Studying the rainforest. Lee's mother is a type of biologist called an entomologist. She studies the habitat and behavior of insects in the rainforest, particularly ants. These organisms, like many other plants, animals, fungi, and microorganisms, can survive only under the environmental conditions found in the undisturbed rainforest. The continual cutting of trees is causing the destruction of the rainforest and the extinction of many species. Little is known about many of the organisms in the rainforest. Studying them is important because of the potential benefits this knowledge may bring to our world.